Okay, good morning. The story that we'll be telling is going to sound very similar to what you just, Tony shared with Ipsos. But to give a little background, Kantar Media's Mars Consumer Health Study is the only dedicated U.S. study to tie multimedia consumption to over 75 different health conditions, how they are treated, brands used, along with in-depth consumer profiling. The study was developed with a partnership with the major pharmaceutical advertising agencies when the FDA approved direct-to-consumer advertising of pharmaceuticals to consumers. Little about the methodology has changed. So up until 2015, the study used a 24-page paper questionnaire mailed to a representative population. After testing in 2014, the 2015 study began collecting its content online using a panel. Why now? Well, while our formal test only was last year, the discussions and the explorations have been in the works for some time. There were a number of forces that drove this change, but in a nutshell, healthcare marketing is not what it used to be. The efforts required were much simpler in the beginning. We had television and magazines to provide the required risk and benefit information, but the most important person in the decision-making process was, as it is today, the physician. But things have changed. A transformation is underway, and marketing requires a more targeted, patient-centric model. New drug development is specialized for conditions that impact fewer people. The Affordable Care Act provides more patients to treat, but at a cost. There are fewer private practice doctors, and brand decisions may stem from the insurance company or a hospital group. And the expanding in-store clinics at major drugstores are conveniently there to provide the testing and the treatment. And of course, the data science movement strives to connect patient data. And then there are the patients themselves and the wide range of channels there are to research, share, and be exposed to a marketer's message, giving consumers the information and power to make their own decisions. But back to the Mars study. We were limited by a 24-page paper questionnaire. There was client need for more information, so moving online was the obvious choice. By using an online panel that profiles its members, we can add new, lower incidence conditions. Online survey software would let us add detail about the consumer and their specific condition, as well as expand the media measurement to the platform used to read or view. The Hispanic population represents 15% of the US, and the online lets us seamlessly offer respondents a Spanish language questionnaire. And with the panel, we can more easily link to other custom or third-party data. So, no problem, right? Well, no. A move to a panel meant that all our respondents would be online. It was important that our study represent the total population. According to the Pew Research Center, 84% of all adults access the internet. By age, the story changes. Those over age 65, the yellow bar, when serious health conditions start, is at 58%. So the older population is seeing more dramatic growth in terms of internet use, but it's certainly a factor that the Mars study could not ignore. Other requirements are to measure ailment incidence for the total US population. A magazine's digital platform would be part of the measurement, but it was critical we deliver the traditional print average issue audience metrics that our clients still use. And while it was attractive to include all the content that our clients asked for, we had to control length. The end result is the Mars 2.0 methodology, which combined the old with the new. There is an offline component, the National Sizing Study, that collects the same data used for weighting the study in the past. That is demographics, our ailment incidence, and our print brand exposure. That is used to calibrate the online study, which collects the content that we report. The National Sizing Study replicates Mars' prior methodology in terms of sample and its approach to improving response rates for that harder to get parts of the population. The survey itself is reduced to 8 pages instead of 24, which contributed to its healthy 35.6% response rate in 2015. And time spent on the internet is now collected to use as part of the weighting. We also mailed bilingual survey packages to a subset of Hispanic population. The online panel sample consists of general population and ailment-targeted sample. The GenPop sample has demographic quotas that are set in line with the census, and a Spanish version was offered, but because of our survey length and the type of grid questions that we often include, we allowed tablets, but we blocked smartphones. So, the 2015 study was released this spring, and in our opinion, the 2.0 methodology achieved what we set out to accomplish: more conditions, larger effective sample sizes for previously measured conditions, and a sample representation that's more closely aligned with the census. We've added condition-specific content for more in-depth profiling of patient groups, and now have an approach to measure print, digital, and website for publications. As researchers, however, we are never satisfied. So with that, I'll turn it over to Eric Melton.
Thank you. Good morning. This is an image taken from the paper-based national sizing study. We provide a broad definition of publication readership, as you can see here, across 3 platforms: digital issues and visits to publication websites, as well as reading or looking at print paper-based issues. Now here we have some lengthy definitions for publication readership, reinforcing them with graphics. We then ask a 6-month screen. In the online study, we also present the same definition and the same images and ask a similar 6-month screen. It's at this question that we calibrate each publication incidence to the publication incidence we observe in the sizing study. The audience metric, then, is a subset of the 6-month screen. In the online study, we establish readership and audience measures only for the title screen. First, we present a question only for printed paper issues. Next, we present the same question, now this time only for digital issues. And finally, we present a question for frequency of visitation for the publication's websites. Responses are coded to equivalent visitation rates in an average month and then transformed to a measure of average monthly reach. By incorporating publication frequency, average issue audience measures are transformed into average monthly reach and combined with website average monthly reach to yield a total brand footprint. In the spirit of warts and all candor, we're here to talk about some of the stumbling blocks that we have encountered with the new approach. We have continued to work since we submitted the paper. In today's presentation, we discuss solutions that we are implementing for the study wave that we put into the field back in October. With the new approach, we observed digital audience levels that were much higher than audited figures for digital issue circulation. And we can say frankly that the resulting readers per copy estimates are not plausible. After collecting frequency data for title screened across all 3 platforms, we present a question where we collect the types of devices generally used to reach publications online. Go back here. There is an option for respondents to indicate that they've never read or looked at publications online. We observe an inconsistency here. On average, we reckon that 16% of the audience for digital issues of consumer magazines also report that they do not read magazine content online. But that 16% is an average. The impact is not uniform across all titles measured. There's a much greater degree of inconsistency with a group of titles that include AARP, the American Legion magazine, Diabetes Forecast, Sunset. So, yeah, these are titles that tend to have older audiences. And we concluded that despite our efforts, we did not effectively communicate the meaning of digital issue readership, especially among older respondents. In the online study currently in the field, we move the devices used to read publications online ahead of the series of frequency questions such that it acts as a filter. And here we use program logic so that those who claim not to have read publication content online will not be presented any questions collecting frequency for digital issues or websites. And also, as we can see here, we extended our reminder of what we mean by digital issues and included a new graphic that shows an actual interaction with an online publication. Okay, so here's a key issue in understanding the updated methodology. We have a sample that we have sourced from an online panel that we purport represents the total adult population, including offline as well as online. Well, how do we do this? Along with geodemographics and publication 6-month screen incidences, the National Sizing Study provides benchmarks for internet usage. This is the question that we ask in both the sizing study and the online study. From the responses, we calculate an internet usage volumetric, average hours spent per week, and this calculation is the same for both the sizing study and the online study. In the sizing study, the volumetric is aggregated roughly by quintile. In the online study, the volumetric data is classified using the same cut points as the sizing study. Then respondents in each category are weighted to match the distribution observed in the sizing study. Once weighted, the summary statistics in the reported data were reasonably close to those referenced from the sizing study. But here's the issue. The chart reports average hours spent per week online broken out by age groups. And here the orange bar is the reference, the sizing study. The gray bar reports a design scenario where all the weighting corrections were applied except for the internet usage correction. And the yellow bar is the reported result, including the internet usage correction. And the adjustment generally does some good, especially beyond age 45, but not enough, notably at 65 years and older, where the bias in reference to the sizing study is greater than 10 hours. But what does this mean? The key value proposition for our study is an accurate profiling of condition-based target groups. Now, there were actually 77 conditions measured in common between the sizing study and the online study. The screen's big enough that we could have presented all 77, but we're presenting the extremes here just to make the point. Here, conditions are sorted left to right in ascending order by mean time spent online as calculated in the sizing study. The bottom 10 include some important conditions for us. Heart attack, AFib, osteoporosis, age-related memory loss is in there. So you can see that the bottom 10 are largely age-related conditions, and the bias is relatively large compared to the conditions among the top 10. The concern here is that by not managing internet usage and conforming the online panel source to represent the general population, that we inflate the importance of digital interactions, not properly reflect the value of traditional media platforms. Since submitting the initial paper to the Print and Digital Research Forum last summer, we've done some additional experimentation. Now, this is a scenario where the lowest internet usage break is further split by age, less than 65 and 65 years or older. The online study is classified the same way and reweighted. So here's the internet usage by age chart again, before and after. The bias at 65 years or older is reduced from 10.2 to 4.6, and that's pretty good, although this comes with a cost. Modest increase in the bias at 45 to 54, 55 to 64. Here's the mean internet usage by condition target group chart again, before and after. We observed declines in biases for most conditions here at the extremes. Across all 77 conditions, there's a modest reduction in bias. The root mean square deviation of the difference is about half an hour less. So in short, there are things we like about the new approach. Online surveying gives us the flexibility to broaden the study. We've added new condition target groups that we could not have attempted before. And online surveying helps us to add additional depth of insights, symptoms and severity, treatments and brands that can be tied directly to specific ailments, and publication readership across multiple platforms. However, there are things we'd like not so much. As discussed here, we certainly left room for improvement in our reported estimates. Online behavior is currently measured through respondent recall, and again, like many of the other presenters here, we're actively investigating solutions to incorporate passive online behavior measures. And with that, I'll leave it at that. Thank you.